Hi everyone, no news today, so let's get straight into the data. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at the fear and greed index, it was flat from the previous close, 53 here, 53 on the last close, so flat sideways action makes sense with markets being basically flat. And we've been here for a while now. You can see 45 a month ago, and we really haven't changed much during that month time period. Sideways choppy with short stints of upward price action and really no change on these indicators. Still seeing extreme fear on strength and breadth, which is interesting. Put call ratio getting into very extreme levels here at a 0.65. You can see this previous low was a 0.64, and then the low before that 0.65 as well. So very extreme lows here for the put call ratio. Volatility did temper a little bit, and then safe haven demand back into neutral, while junk bond demand still hovering in greed. Moving over to seasonality, we are supposed to be seeing sideways choppy action today as well as tomorrow and into the 10th here before we start to see a little bit of a rally, and that makes sense. That is what we're seeing. So right now, seasonality definitely a good tool to use to guide trading. And looking at the calendar, you can see all of these bull heads with very high percent chance of a gain over the next 4 trading days. Moving over to the economic calendar, really nothing here for today. Inflation expectations for the New York Fed came in at 3%, lower than the previous read, so that's good. Tomorrow we got Fed Powell speaking at 10 o'clock. That's going to be interesting. 3-year note auction, fairly interesting. And then for Wednesday, we have Fed Powell speaking again, as well as the 10-year note auction. And then don't forget, we get all of the inflation data here for Thursday and Friday. So lots of data over the next 4 days. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see basically flat, 0.21 to the upside, doji. It is up a little bit after hours. We'll see how that plays with Fed Powell speaking. Still looking for a push to that upper trend line, which is currently sitting around 561 or so. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Did see a little bit of weakness on the hourly momentum, but still held that 21 EMA. So see how it plays. We had the 3 really strong pushes, and today was most likely just a pullback in time. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see that upper ATR is 556.35, and the high of day was 556.25, so really touched that level and then pulled back a little bit. Momentum still on the daily chart down a little bit. No volume, nothing crazy, so still expecting resistance in this zone with that ATR band sitting there. And we can see that same thesis here on the 4-hour chart, grinding along that upper trend line. Momentum fading, not a ton of volume, nothing crazy, but we've talked about it many times. Once you hit this upper band, that tends to be when you start to see a little bit of resistance, and that is what we're seeing now on the 4-hour and the daily chart. Moving over to the Qs here, we got basically the same move, just a little bit stronger, 0.24 to the upside, rallying a little bit more after hours, up about 70 cents, momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Hourly chart, pullback, bearish momentum, swing to the bull side at the end of the session, and now you can see we are pushing up from that trend line and the 21 EMA, sitting at 498. Right now, there's no levels. Next level would be this trend line here at 511. I don't necessarily think we're going to get there this week, but it's not impossible. Moving over to the daily chart here, you can see upper ATR band 494.84, upper price today 497.89. So we're well above that upper ATR, momentum bearish. Again, you can still see grinding price action on this level, but usually it's not accompanied by bearish momentum here. So we'll see how it plays over the coming days. Definitely grinding higher along those upper levels. And you can see it here as well on the 4-hour chart, upper ATR band sitting at 496.34, and that 8 EMA getting very close to that ATR band. So another indicator that we are very extended. Momentum continuing to roll bearish. I think this is going to cross tomorrow, but price action is king, and it does look okay still so far. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, the Russell popped 0.7%, got back above 201.88, so that was nice. Did push all the way up to 203.60 at one point, but then gave most of that back, finished around 202.28, so we'll see how that plays tomorrow. RSI and momentum still look good. Dow, similar move, gapped higher, rallied all the way up to a new high relative to this previous one here. High of day was 396.73, and then it gave all of that back and then some. Still looking for 398.76 as a price target. I do think we can still get there based on this structure, but that reversal is a little bit concerning. Moving over to stocks that moved today, we got Corning Incorporated. This is a glass and ceramic manufacturer. I had to look this up. I'd never heard of their company, but they had a huge pop here today, up almost 12%, and it's actually been growing quite a lot here. You can see October of 23, down around $26, and now we're at $43.20, up even more after hours. It's been in this structure for a while, hit this upper limit, and then we gapped through it and rallied. Long-term trend here, you can see interactions with that uptrend is all the way up at $52. So maybe this has a lot more steam in the tank, potentially. At least a second day push, I would guess. And then you can see huge volume on that. And then looking at super micro, it's been in this grinding price action. It's currently in an upswing to this trend here around 1,027 in my opinion, which is about $100 higher from current price. So we'll see how this plays. It also had a good move at 6.23%. Moving over to the Mag 7, down today 0.44. You can see it's hitting that zone of resistance at this trend line, currently trading it to 90.50. Didn't quite touch that level, starting to pull back. Momentum and RSI are still bullish, but might see a little bit of a pullback in time. 9 EMA sitting all the way down at 274. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple up 0.65, Microsoft down 0.28. Microsoft testing that trend support, needs to hold that level if it's going to push to the next one. If it gets back through it, maybe we're looking at a push back down to this 446 area. But otherwise, Apple still looking very bullish, closing on the high even after wicking these lows. Low of day was all the way down at 223.25 and we still finished in the 228. So wide ranging day, still bullish. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla still positive 0.56, hit our price target 255.44, overthrew it pretty well. High of day was 259.44. Momentum and RSI still bullish, super high on that RSI at an 85, so super overbought. This move was very aggressive, so it seems like we're starting to see that first sign of rejection off this very powerful move and overextension. NVIDIA slightly positive here as well, 1.88%. Looks like we're going to push to this upper trend line up around 133.70, and this could be the start of that move. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, we got staples down 0.16, discretionaries up 0.05. Really no change to the thesis. Looking for staples to break this level here and push to the next one. Similarly on discretionaries, looking at rejection, just like we're seeing on Tesla. Seems like Tesla is driving this market. So if Tesla breaks, so will discretionaries. And if it fails to break here, we're probably pushing back down to the 185 range. Moving over to industrials and oil and gas here just for a moment. I want to talk about how industrials have been on this massive run. Bottomed out around $96 and then we rallied all the way up to 125 here. Topped out in April and we've been sideways choppy for a long time, waiting for these EMAs to consolidate. And you can see here it's getting very close. 144 EMA sitting at 119, price action 121. So it looks like we're getting very close to that level and then we could look for a breakdown to that 200. This had been driving markets for a long time and now it's not. You can also see here on oil and gas, this has been falling during that whole time period basically. Then we got a low here in mid-June. Seems like we might be finding a slightly higher low at that 200 at 143.70. This could be an interesting zone. Structurally, it's still quite bearish. You can see the rally up and this current move down. It's below this trend line. So there are some reasons to still be bearish here, but this is more interesting to me now after this kind of dip low, slight rally, and the current higher low that is potentially forming. So structures here across markets seem to be changing at least a little bit. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon, both of these having pretty negative days. RIOT down 2.5, Mara down 3.3. Momentum bearish on both of these, RSI bearish on both of these. At this point, really no change on RIOT. Did try to get above this level, gave it all back and then some, so that wasn't great. Could potentially look for a push down to that 878 area, but every time we get into that zone, we seem to find some buyers. So still holding this structure on RIOT, and then looking at Marathon, big down day. This point, probably wouldn't touch this until we get to support at 1878. Moving over to Breadth, 20-day Breadth, catching a bounce here. 50-day Breadth, also positive, but didn't engulf the previous candle. So Breadth seems to be finding strength in this zone still. Very close to testing those levels on the 20-day. 50-day did test, and then we caught a little bit of a bull move. Momentum on 20-day did step to bullish. RSI still trending higher, but not above the SMA. 50-day flat below the SMA, so still mixed signals, but that 20-day definitely looks better today than it did on that Friday session. Moving over to the dollar here, you can see we did find a little bit of a low. Tried to dip low here at the open, found some strength, rallied into the middle and end of the sessions. We're above all the short-term EMAs on the hourly chart. Maybe we look for a push to that 144 up at 105.37. We had 7 days in a row of downward price action, so this could be just a slight bounce. Hit this trend and then continue lower. Momentum and RSI still bearish. Long-term, you could still make the argument that this is a bullish structure with these consistently higher highs and higher lows, but this was concerning here. We hadn't seen a very consistent downtrend like that in a while. and most of them came with choppiness like this, ended up bouncing and then rallying. So see how it plays here. For me, still no change in structure. Medium term bullish, short term bearish. So see how it plays. Moving over to yields. Yields caught a little bit of a bounce, nothing crazy. We had a super bear day on Friday with that unemployment data. This could be just a little bit of a pullback in time. That's really what I would be looking for. Momentum still trending to bearish, RSI still trending to bearish. So we'll see how it plays. 144 EMA obviously offering support there on the 10-year at 4.27, and then no major level here for the 2-year, just kind of catching a bounce in no man's land in my opinion. Moving over to JNK and TLT. JNK inside candle, that's usually bearish, but nothing crazy. Still well above all the EMAs and SMAs. Could be just a pullback to that level and then find a bounce. And then look at TLT. Bullish on a day where yields were higher, 0.22 to the upside. It's right at the level 92.82. Breaks that, could see a push to this upper trend line, which is currently sitting up around 95.80. We've gotten 4 bullish days in a row. Momentum swinging to bullish. Want to see it break that RSI and start to push, but I still like this structure here, and I think the bond market has caught on to the idea that yields are likely to go lower in the next couple months, and people are continuing to buy bonds at a faster rate. Moving over to the MOVE Index and the VIX here, MOVE Index continuing to crater. Like I said, I think bonds are going to go higher. And then the VIX did get a little bit of a jump at the beginning of the session, fell right back to these levels, so nothing crazy yet. Thought we might see a little bit more of a bounce off that Friday session, which we did see, but it all came back, and we're right back into the same range that we've been in for quite a long time. Moving over to my accounts, finally broke that 140 level. That was nice to see. Main account up at 103.3, made about $500 on the day. IWM was up a lot. Did roll out to 202 for tomorrow's session. Still have about half the credit on that. We're down around 202.50, so we did bounce a little bit after hours. Max profit for me all the way up at 203.50, so plenty of room for upside on this position. And then looking at the Qs, still have my covered call. Did roll that out to 490 for 4 days from now for $8 credit, so that's all the way up to 498. And you can see we're not quite there yet. And then my 500 call, left that on. I did take it off and then put it back on for a slightly higher credit, so I didn't lose all of the money. You can see open profit of $1, so that was good. And then I sold puts on Friday, rolled those up to 496, got all of the profit on both of those. And then I sold some 496s for tomorrow as well for 70 cents. So overall, still bullish on both of these positions going into tomorrow's session. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of the markets. What is Fed Powell going to say, and what is this CPI and PPI data going to say and do to markets? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.